Following is a list of all the edible plants that can be found in California. Many of them, of course, can be found throughout the world. Catclaw acacia, Acacia greggii, is native to the southwest United States, mainly in the desert. The plant is a large shrub to a small tree, sometimes growing up to 30 feet tall. The seed pods were gathered by various native tribes. The irregular shaped seed pods can be ground into meal, and the seeds can be eaten. They are often bitter, and you can boil them to make it more palatable. You should be careful though, because the plants themselves are very toxic. The plant requires quite a lot of water, so it's often found near dry stream beds and places like that. It often drops its leaves during the summer when there's no water. Giant hyssop, Agastice udicafolia, is a species of mint. It is native to western North America. The entire plant is edible and is sometimes used for flavoring. It's probably wise not to eat too much of it. It's high in tannins. The seeds are edible raw or cooked. It is very widespread in many different environments below 9,000 feet in elevation. A pleasant tasting tea can also be made from the leaves. Four major parts of the agave are edible: the flowers, the leaves, the stalks or basal rosettes, and also the sap. Juice from old leaves is used to make mezcal. The roots can be toxic. Some species, the juice can be toxic as well. Natives also use it to make needles and thread. Mature agaves also provide food. You can cut off all the leaves and it leaves something that looks like a big giant pineapple, and those are roasted in deep pits. The main food that you would get from an agave is the flower stalk that shoots up after several years of growth. They are often very sweet. Quackgrass is both widespread and common. It is also known by couch grass. The main edible part of the plant is the rhizomes. That's also the main way the plant spreads. It can become a very noxious weed. The roots have a diuretic property. Eating the roots can lower your blood sugar. The main way the plant is used is to dry the rhizomes up and ground it into a meal. You can make it into bread. It was mainly considered a famine food. Water plantains are a widespread family of plants. You need to be careful eating these. These are poisonous plants. They lose their toxicity after they're dried. Other sources say that you can boil or soak them in water to remove the bitter taste. It is also possible to eat the leaves and flowers, but they must be thoroughly cooked. The flowers are usually white, but sometimes they're pink. The plants are generally found in the water. Sometimes water plantains can be found in wet soil. The leaves underwater look different. Above the surface they look very much like plantain. When submerged, the plant produces ribbon-like leaves. All parts of onions are edible. You need to be very careful though. There are some deadly plants that very strongly resemble onions. There's several others that people have mistaken for onions. The main thing you need to do is you need to examine the root and make sure it smells like an onion and that it peels like an onion with the layers. Archaeological evidence has shown that onions were the third most eaten food by early humans, so we've been eating them for a long time. The main sugar is inulin. It requires a lot of cooking for it to be available for people. That's also why onions taste sweeter when they're cooked. Amaranth is a very large family of plants. They're very similar to spinach. Some of them grow as weeds and they're usually called pigweeds. Others have been harvested for thousands of years, particularly in South America. They were a staple of the Incas. The greens are very nutritious. They're very high in iron and many minerals. The seeds are very high in proteins. Unlike most plant protein, it has a good mix of amino acids. It is often referred to as the crop of the future because of its beneficial nutritional qualities. It's easily harvested, produces lots of fruits or seeds. They are very widespread and very common. It's fairly easy to identify them. Surface berries are very similar to blueberries. In fact, when I first saw them, I thought they were blueberries. There are some blueberries that are poisonous, so you need to be careful. Check for the distinctive crown. They are also known as Saskatoon berries. Sometimes they're called June berries. The ones we used to pick grew on shrubs that were about maybe 8 feet tall. They are notable for their polyphenol antioxidants. They're similar in composition to blueberries. The Pacific Madrone is a species of Arbutus found on the west coast of North America. It's mainly in the northwest. It can also be found on the west slope of the Sierra Nevadas. It is commonly called strawberry tree because it resembles a strawberry, or the fruits do. It has a very distinctive rich orange-red bark. It peels away on mature wood. The berries are ripe in autumn. Manzana means apple in Spanish. Manzanita means little apple. Manzanita are usually a fairly small shrub. They are very common in Southern California. The berries are edible. You can eat them raw, but if you eat too many of them, they'll make your stomach upset. Supposedly, if you cook them, then they're okay. You can eat as much as you like. Native Americans were reported to use the leaves as toothbrushes. Kinnikinick is a dwarf shrub. It's usually found in cold areas, up in high alpine areas. I used to gather it in Black Hills of South Dakota. It was near Bismarck Lake, great fishing. The leaves were also smoked by the Native Americans. They were sweet, but they're a little bit astringent. Never would eat too many of them for that reason. The seeds of sage are edible. They're very small and hard to collect. They can be eaten raw or roasted and ground into a powder. The plant is toxic, and it's also highly allergenic to people. Many Native Americans use sagebrush to dry themselves off after a time in a sweat lodge. The plant has a very pleasant smell. The seeds make a bang when you throw them into a fire. Wild ginger is used very much the same way that ginger is used as a spice. It's usually found in darker, moist areas. They are a genus of low-growing herbs, and they're distributed across the temperate zones of the northern hemisphere. The plant can be used as a spice, but it is a potent diuretic. Other plants in the genus contain carcinogens. Milkweeds are sometimes reported to be edible, and some claim they're toxic. Most sources say they're edible young if you boil them in water. Some people say they're quite good. If you find them to be bitter tasting, it's probably better to not eat them because that indicates they're probably toxic. Milkweeds are probably most famous as the food for the caterpillars of monarch butterflies. The reason they're toxic is because they eat milkweeds. I used to eat wild oats as a kid. They're pretty easy to eat, but it takes a bit of practice to get the grain to come out right. You have to bite it in just the right way. One time I found some ergot growing on it. I tasted it because I thought it was a grain, but I think I spit it out. More recently I got poisoned by eating ergot from inside of rye. That was probably the worst experience of my life. Wild oats have smaller seeds than the cultivated varieties. It's still widely available, and they are very nutritious. These are the grasses that often get stuck in your socks when you're walking along. Balsam root is a member of the sunflower family. They have arrow-shaped leaves, often very long tap roots. The roots and seeds are both edible. It is mainly considered a famine food. The entire plant is edible, but it contains a sap that is rather bitter and unpleasant tasting. The roots are much better. There's a closely related plant called mule ears. They are also edible, but the Native Americans cooked them in a special way. The bitter-tasting sap was used as an antiseptic by the Native Americans. It was rubbed onto minor wounds. Winter cress, otherwise known as American watercress or early yellow rocket, is a small biennial herb that grows up to about 2 feet tall. During the first year it forms a rosette of basal leaves about a foot across. Second year it bolts upward with one or more flowering stalks. Young plants can be eaten in salads. Older plants should be boiled and the water changed to remove the bitterness. Some reports indicate that it might be slightly toxic, but it has been grown in England since the 17th century as a pot herb. Slough grass is mainly found in northern states. It prefers damp or even wet ground. The seeds can be cooked or ground into a flour. The seeds are small, but they're easily harvested. Some native tribes used to burn the husks off. Black mustard seed is the common kind of mustard that is used in flavoring. It can be toxic when in very large quantities are eaten, like what a grazing animal might do. Older leaves are very bitter. Younger leaves can be used as a pot herb. Very young leaves can be used in a salad. The way the spice is produced is they grind the seeds, dip it in cold water for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then they add vinegar to it.